All right, so this is going to be a pretty low-key video, I think. Basically, as it says in the title, I'm going to be selling some of my gear, and I just wanted to sort of update the channel and why I'd be selling it, and as a sort of future reminder for myself about what happens when you start just buying gear here and there without giving it enough thought, really. And maybe it will help some of you who have got a lot of gas as well. So I was having a little think over the last couple of weeks as to why some of my gear just tends to sit around without being played. Now, the obvious answer is people have pointed this out in comments in the past. I might have too much gear. Well, yes, I do. And let me get that straight. My motive in the last year was to get back into guitar, to learn as much as I could, to start this YouTube thing, which I've been really enjoying, to help other people to find the right gear, because I was just going through that same process myself, and to sort of stave off the pandemic boredom, depression, anxiety that so many of us will have been going through. You know, it's been a really difficult year for all sorts of reasons around the world. And for me, doing this channel, learning the guitar again, playing with all this stuff, you know, it's been a great way to get through the last year. I feel like, you know, we're coming to the point where things might start to turn around, life might open up again, and you know, there are going to be other things to go out and do. So I thought now was a good time to really take account of what I've got. And yesterday I started posting a few things on Reverb, and actually one thing sold within 3 minutes, so I must have really underpriced it. That was the Secret Weapon Fuzz by Dan Drive. I found that once I got my Austin Pride fuzz, I just never touched the Secret Weapon. So that has become my criteria now. If I've got something that's similar but I use more, and I've already done some videos with that first item in that I'm not using anymore, then I should go ahead and pass it on to someone else, sell it, whatever. I put it on for the price that I bought it for. Stupid me, obviously Reverb take a fee, so I ended up slightly down on it, but it sold within 3 minutes. So had I thought about it, Dan Drive obviously is a great pedal company that's hard to get a hold of their pedals because he takes a long time to make them. You know, he makes them so well. I didn't even notice until yesterday. I opened up my Secret Weapon, which had a Spider-Man sort of vibe going on the outside, that even on the inside, he'd covered the board, like the electric board, with the Spider-Man covering before he'd done the work, which, you know, that sort of attention to detail. Anyway, so that's flown off already to someone. And then I put my first ever Gibson up for sale, and I knew I wasn't going to get back the money I paid for it. You know, it's not a rare or limited edition guitar or whatever like that. So again, that managed to sell on the first day. I lost a few £100. I say lost. It's almost like I rented the guitar for a year. I had some great times with it. It was my first Gibson guitar, which was a massive milestone for me. Since I got my case P90 gold top, I didn't really pick that up. So yeah, I think that, again, that's going off to someone who plays guitar a lot, who got a good deal on it. I even cleaned out the pots for them because it was a bit scratchy. So yeah, that sold on the first day. Then there's a few other pieces that I'm going to try and sell that are already on the Reverb, and some more that I'm considering. I've put my Vox amp, that was the first amp I bought last year. It just doesn't get used anymore. I've obviously got so many alternative amps here. So the AC15, the Victory V4, the Sheriff preamp. Again, I did my review of that. I enjoyed using it for, on a few occasions, but it's not something I'm really going to need or use. So, I'll take a little hit on that if someone wants to buy it. And I've got a Vertex Effects boost. So these are things which, I bought that boost pedal at the beginning thinking it'd be something I could really use, but I've got so many other ways of doing that sort of thing that I just don't need it. So it's in pristine condition, pretty much. Might as well sell it on while I can. But to come to a more interesting point is, where am I going? What's the direction here for me? I bought a number of guitars and amps last year trying to find my tone. I did that series, Finding My Tone, which I really enjoyed. I do intend to sort of do the odd one of that, and in a sense this video fits in with that series. Finding my tone. What is it I'm after? Well, I started buying amps. I started with the Tone King, which I'm finding with my combo amps, I don't play them as much because I've got my head amps already sort of always set up behind me. They're all plugged in and ready to go. And ultimately, I just want to get on with playing most of the time. So rather than hauling an amp from the side of the room over to there, you know, we tend to always go down the path of least resistance. So my Tone King, my Sir Ombre, my custom Princeton, my Vibro Lux, which is, I think it needs a new tube because it keeps going in and out of volume. As does my 2-Rock Classic Reverb. Yesterday I was playing it and suddenly the volume started going up and down a few times. Can anyone let me know what they think that is? I think it's a power tube, so I'm going to have to buy some tubes and figure that out. So my combo amps are something I don't tend to use as much. Once I've got used to 2x12 cabinets, I feel like that's more of the sound. You know, it fills the room. It's not quite so punchy and directional, and it just feels like it's lifted off the ground a bit, and it really fills the room with that. So seeing as I can't see any gigging in the near future to medium term future, there's a chance I'll get rid of 1 or 2 of those amps. That would probably be the Fender Vibrolux, which is a great amp, but I think I've got amps that do, you know, I don't want to say better job, but of being, you can't do a better job of being a Vibrolux if you're a Vibrolux. But, you know, like the Tone King Sky King has a blackface thing, which I love, with incredible tremolo. So do I want that silver face Fender amp with tremolo? Not sure. You know, I'm sort of trying to come to these decisions and not be too sentimental about it. I'm one of these people, though, that once I've got a piece of gear in my hands, it's really difficult to prize it out. So I'm going to have to go really slowly. Again, between the Sir Ombre and the Fender Princeton, I think I would probably keep the Princeton and sell the Sir Ombre. The ultimate direction I'm going for is I want to find the one perfect combo amp for me, so that if I do go out to gig or you know, go to play with people or with bands or whatever, that I've got the perfect one-stop amp for me. So if I could only keep one of my combos, it would be the Tone King. But I'm also thinking about the Bartel amps. You know, Bartel is the guy that started Tone King, sold it. He now has his own operation, which is even sort of higher end. Sorry, just got to change. It's got a bit brighter in here. So that's the combo amps. When it comes to the head amps, again, I can't expect any sympathy for having too many to choose from, but there are some that I just never plug in. I never plug in my Marshall JTM, although I love the sound of it. It's a very noisy amp. It doesn't quite have the dynamic touch and feel of the more handmade amps that I've got. And then between the Mesa Boogie, which I've been making a few videos on, and the Dr. Z Maz and the Morgan, I would say that I definitely want to keep the Morgan, and I definitely want to keep the Dr. Z. The Mesa Boogie has been is a glorious amp. If I had to only have one amp and it was that one, I wouldn't be upset by it. You know, it does a great job, but I probably don't need it considering I've got my 2-Rocks. So I think that Mesa Boogie will be going, and I would like to try the Cali Tweed, which is something that covers a spot that I don't really have. I don't really have any Tweed sort of amps. So that's that. But really where this is going is that I want to be much more discerning. I've now come to a point where I understand what I sort of like, don't like, what I need and don't need. And I probably don't need much. You know, between all my guitars and amps, if I was left with a couple of each, I now know that simplifying yourself and getting to know what it is you really want, which is the journey I've been going on. It's not been a wasted journey for me. Some of you might see it that way, some of you might not. Ultimately, I want a guitar that feels comfortable in the hands, that is dynamic, meaning I can, from the little turns of a knob, can take it from clean to pretty overdriven. I want an amp that lives happily on the edge of breakup, that the specific tone doesn't matter as much as the sort of dynamic feel and the way it sort of fills up the room and it like sort of, it's got mojo. So that's what I've learned about myself, and that ultimately making your pedal board too complicated is just a journey down a rabbit hole that wastes a lot of your energy when you could actually just be making some music. Now, a lot of you will have known all of this before I even started, but I always have to get somewhere by myself. So what does that mean for the channel? It means that I'm just going to be a bit more picky about what I'm going to bring in. I'm going to try and come up with more ideas that involve stuff I've already got. And I will still obviously be buying and selling things. I think that's part of this hobby that we all enjoy. And this is definitely not a downer on anything that I'm getting rid of. I just had to look around and say, what am I emotionally attached to? Well, when it came to guitars, the Gold Top, although it was my first Gibson, my R9 and my black ES355 and my vintage red ES355 definitely fill that Gibson hole for me beautifully. And so I didn't really have a connection to that Gold Top. And the other guitar that I've put up is my Paul Reed Smith Special Semi-Hollow Body. Now, I would be much sadder to see it go, but I'm happy to sell it because I don't pick it up very often. The main reason being, I've mentioned before, I just find with the 3 pickups, it's a little bit difficult to play for me. I'm quite clumsy in my hands. I've got large hands with wide fingers, and I don't find it very easy to use that guitar. It is actually one of the most glorious sounding guitars I've ever used. So I've put that up. Again, I definitely won't make any money on it. Shipping is so expensive. The shipping is about 20 quid, which is fine, but the insurance to cover the values of these things can be 100 quid. So it cost me £120 to ship the Gibson from London to West England, which, if it weren't for the pandemic, I could have driven there in 2 hours and back. I've got an electric car, so that wouldn't really cost me anything. There you go. That's just the world as we live in right now. So look, this is really just an update video for people who are more sort of already involved in watching my videos, so that you know what's going on. If you want to buy any of my stuff, you can look at the Reverb. That wasn't the purpose of this video. And, I'm open to offers. Obviously, we'll have to negotiate if you're interested in anything. And there'll be the odd pedal going up there, normally one that I bring into review and then realise that I don't really need it. But I was interested in seeing what it was like. And then you have pedals which you try and you cannot get rid of them. The Blues Power, the Jam Ray, the Austin Pride. There's all those pedals that I'll never be selling, because even if I can't use them all at the same time, they are fantastic. And just to finish off, don't forget about the BB preamp. I've got my own one. It's very often lives on the board, and I'm giving away one when I hit 2,500 subs, or if we can get this video to 300 likes, which if we can get that to 300 likes, then I will give it away sooner. You just got to subscribe publicly, so go into your privacy settings and change that if they're not, if you want to enter, and comment on a video. And anyway, that's just the way I'm going. I'm going to be a bit more focused now as to what I want and need, and getting rid of stuff that I don't. So let me know what you think down in the comments about how your gear journey has gone. Have you gone through similar things, picking up loads of stuff and then realizing actually you just got a bit eager, and a bit of retail therapy got in the way of just playing the guitar. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. See you next time. Cheers.